That was from the conversations that Morrie and I had every Tuesday as he was dying, in his office. And that's part of this new podcast that we have. I have all the tapes, and I've had them for 20 plus years, hours and hours of conversations. And I said, I shouldn't just keep these to myself. People will want to hear what he had to say. They've been reading about it in many different ways across the world. So now we've put together this podcast where every Tuesday we take some of the lessons that he and I did together with the actual sound of him and sort of have another class in what's important in life.
And let me ask you this. If Morrie were going to give advice on how to seek that meaning in your life, putting you on the spot here, but what would you say, what might he say in terms of trying to find meaning in your life?
Well, I would say it begins with giving to others. Morrie at the end of his life said to me, I want you to come to my grave and talk to me after I'm gone. And I said, what, you want me to sit there and just have a conversation? He said, just like we're talking now. And I said, well, it won't be like we're talking now because you won't be there to answer back. And he said, I'll make you a deal. After I'm dead, you talk, I'll listen. And I thought about that, and I realized, in that is exactly what he'd always tried to teach me, because if you have a relationship with people, then it can go on after they're gone, but only if you put time in with them while they're here. So if you want to have a meaningful life, don't say, well, I'm going to work, and then at the end, I'll find time for people. I'm going to make money, and then at the end, I'll be generous, because you don't know when the end is coming.
Good point.
And so you have to do all of that now, make those connections now, if you want to have a meaningful life, and then when the life is over, or you get to the last day, you say, well, I lived a good life.
Well, congrats on the new podcast, and thanks for sharing all this wisdom that you've learned over the years as a part of these conversations. Mitch, thanks so much for being here. Mitch also has a new book titled Finding Chica, a Little Girl, an Earthquake, and the Making of a Family. I want to ask you, Mitch, really quickly, what are people gravitating to the most when it comes to the book?
Well, that book, thankfully, is about our little girl, Chica, who we adopted from our orphanage in Haiti, who battled a brain tumor for 2 years. And I'd say the thing that people have gravitated the most to is towards the end of her life, when she couldn't walk, I had to carry her from place to place. And we were at the table one time coloring, and I jumped up. I said, Chica, I got to go. And she said, no, Mr. Mitch, stay. And I said, Chica, I can't. This is my job. And she said, no, your job is carrying me. And I realized that, wow, that is true. And I think that's what people are gravitating to.
Thanks for sharing that, Mitch, so very much. And everyone in the audience, you're going to go home with a copy of his book, Finding Chica, a Little Girl, an Earthquake, and the Making of a Family. And to listen to Mitch's podcast, Tuesday People, find the podcast app on your phone or tablet and search Tuesday People Podcast. Hit subscribe, and you're ready to start listening